Welcome to the first installment in a series about the life of Jimmy Williams. Born and raised in Washington, D.C., in 1964, Jimmy signed with the Baltimore Orioles and went on to play 16 years in professional baseball that include over a decade in the minor leagues, as well as years in Japan, Mexico, and Panama. In 1972, he was rostered by the San Francisco Giants, filling the spot of the departing Willie Mays. After his playing career, Jimmy went on to be the head coach at Howard University, as well as coaching at the University of the District of Columbia and Prince George's Community College. At the age of 78, Jimmy is still coaching at Prince George's Community College. Jimmy's story goes beyond his perseverance as a ball player and his positive impact as a coach. Growing up in Washington in an era of social change, Jimmy's story is an important chapter in the history of our nation. As a former player of Jimmy's, it is an honor to be part of telling the story of a man who has had such a positive impact on me and many others. But enough of me talking. Let's hear from the man himself. Here's the first episode of the story of Jimmy Williams. Okay, all right. I think it's working now. So, I guess we could start from the beginning. So you were born in D.C., right?
Yeah, born in Washington, D.C., yes.
What hospital were you born at?
I was born in Freeman's Hospital. At that time, it was Freeman's Hospital, which is now Howard University Hospital. And before that, it was Griffith Stadium area, right in the same area, Griffith Stadium.
And that Griffith Stadium had some significance, right? Because you ended up going to watch games there, right?
Oh yeah. As a kid, I mean, I always caught the streetcar or even walked from my home, which was right by Gallaudet University, and just walk right up Florida Avenue. And make a right, go up, and get on to like 4th Street, and come in the bleacher section at Griffith Stadium. I used to go to all the doubleheaders.
And so, how many brothers and sisters did you have?
Well, oh boy, I had 6 brothers and 2 sisters, so it was 9 of us. I got a baseball team.
I remember last time we talked, you said your trips to South Carolina were particularly memorable. Can you tell me more about that?
South Carolina, I remember catching the train, going there. My mother would send me down to my grandmother's farm and my grandfather's farm. And I did have some other family members there. My oldest brother was there. He was already there. And I used to go down there just to, I guess they were going to babysit me for the summer. And used to go down there, and I was just amazed at it. It was a big farm, and I thought my grandparents owned the farm, but it was they were sharecroppers. But we did everything from cotton to corn to tomatoes to just everything, to slopping hogs to. We did the farm thing with the horses and everything. Mules, really. We had mules.
Sounded like they put you to work when you were there.
I sure did. And they taught me how to pick cotton. And I always like to tell the story about my grandmother made me a satchel to put around my neck. And later on in life, I had the same satchel like for serving newspapers, where I carry my newspapers in it. So this was kind of a preview for that, and so they made it, and I used to pick my little cotton and bring it back, and my grandfather said, son, you don't have enough cotton in there to wipe Susie's butt.
And when you were in South Carolina, too, that was when you first saw baseball, right?
Yeah, I remember going to a field and a fence, and I couldn't really see through it. It was really like the real knothole gang type thing. Looking through the fence, and I saw these guys playing. I didn't know really what they were playing, but I knew later on that it was baseball, and that may be what got me going into the game of baseball once I got back to Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm. And so then going back to Washington, D.C., do you remember which schools you went to when you were younger?
Yeah. I remember going to kindergarten at Walker Jones Elementary School, which was wasn't really. It was a pretty good little ways away. It's more like it was about 12 or 13 blocks away. And Walker Jones, I went there for kindergarten and maybe the 1st grade. Then I also went to another school. I'm trying to remember the name of that school. I usually know that name, but it escapes me right now. But it was still quite a ways. It was like 4th and F Street, like 4th and maybe 4th and HIJK, more like 4th and G or something like that, northeast. And that was a pretty good walk because I live more like 11th Street. So I remember going to school at that school. And from there, and then schools were segregated at the time, and so and when the third grade came around, that's when schools were integrated, and I went to the school right down 1 block from my house, which was Phyllis Wheatley Elementary School, which they had kindergarten through 6th grade. Mm. So I went to school there 3rd grade through the 6th grade. Mm.
Do you remember what that was like when the schools were integrated? Do you remember anything specific about that?
I don't remember. I remember that I liked going to school, and I know my teachers were Caucasian all the way up until my 5th grade. Matter of fact, right into my 5th grade, and I just remember loving going to school and doing the little reports and doing things. We used to bring in reports from the newspaper and everything, and I was a good little math student, but wasn't a great English student. But as far as writing reports and all that stuff, but I did like to report on things, that I could see, like in the newspaper, because I love to look at the newspaper, So I enjoyed going to school. Yeah.
I remember earlier when we talked, you talked about Miss Murphy, I think it was.
Oh yes, Miss Murphy was my 3rd grade teacher, and I just remember everybody being nice and treated me with utmost respect and not telling me things I couldn't do, and I just remember her talking. One thing I really remember about her is she was talking about how plastic is going to be the thing to come in the future. And now we're trying to get rid of plastic. We got too much of it. So Miss Murphy, I think she really got me going when I really got into school a little bit, getting around the 3rd and 4th grade,
And you hadn't played baseball yet, right, at that point?
So the 3rd grade would make me be about 8 or so, something like that. No baseball that I can recall. I just don't remember any baseball until I was about 12, maybe the 6th grade. That's when I think I started playing baseball. I might have been playing some ball on the playground on that same school that I couldn't go to. They had a concrete surface up there and a wall onto the onto the school, elementary school, that we used to use to bounce balls off of and have some fun on there and play strikeouts and everything. But I can't really remember exactly what year that started, but I'm pretty sure it started pretty much just before my 6th grade, before I started playing in the Police Boys Club, which was like when I was in the 6th grade. Yeah.
I remember you talking about how that was important, the playing in the Boys and Girls Club League. Do you want to elaborate on that more?
Yeah. Matter of fact, I thought I was going to pass by it on the way today, but I ended up going another way today because of an accident. And I wanted to take a look at the Boys Club where it is today, because that Boys Club is still in Washington, D.C., but it moved a few blocks away, a little closer to Dunbar High School, like Elm Street, right at Dunbar High School. And the name Jabbo and Wyatt is still on the wall there. And those guys were really instrumental in me playing baseball in the Police Boys Club.
I remember you saying earlier that your mother was a big boxing fan. Was that right?
Oh boy. My mother, had me watching boxing and wrestling. And on top of that, she had me listen to L.A. Dodgers, not Brooklyn Dodger baseball on the radio. We used to sit on the porch and listen to Brooklyn Dodger radio. But TV-wise, we used to watch wrestling and boxing. And I remember some of her favorite guys was I remember her talking about Ezra Charles and Jersey Joe Walcott and guys like that back in the day, Then I got where I really enjoyed the boxing. I kind of kept track of it, And as it kept coming around with Sugar Ray Leonard and all these guys, Roberto Duran, I was really into those, like Marvin Hagler. So I was really a big boxing fan. even though my game was baseball. But my mother wanted me to be a boxer or a doctor. And I don't know where she got those two things from. But the doctor, now I'm going to the doctor a lot, but I'm not a doctor. But yeah, she did have that goal for me as a doctor, but we never did follow up on that. We didn't follow up on. I think kind of baseball kind of took over once I got into high school and I was about to graduate and everything. I don't think I had any desire to be a doctor at that time. I knew I wanted to be a professional baseball player, and so that's where I am today.
I remember you saying that American Legion ball was really important at the time.
Yeah, American Legion was really big in the area because once we played high school ball, all the decent players, all the players that really liked baseball, they played ball in the summer, and we had quite a few. We had a large league. It was like 8 teams, about eight American Legion teams right in Washington, D.C. area alone. And most of us played down on the Ellipse and different places around town. And I was fortunate enough to play for John Jankowski, Sr., in high school. He was my coach for 3 years in high school. And his son, John Jr., he was my American Legion coach in the summers. I played for him 3 years and the dad 3 years. And so I think that really furthered my love of the game, and my talents got better because we played a pretty good schedule in the summer. We played in one league was American Legion. Then we played up in the big boy league. It was the Clark Griffith League, and we played in that league to get experience. So we kind of didn't do well in that league record-wise, but our good players played well. We played okay, but we those guys were just a little bit too much for us in that league. But it served its purpose in that Clark Griffith League, and that led to a championship in American Legion ball in my senior year. A regional champion, the Maryland champs, and we had a chance to go to the college. I mean, not the College World Series. Tried to go to the American Legion World Series, and we came up one game short because I was a pitcher in high school, so my time ran out, and you can only pitch so many innings. And once I came out of there, it ended up being all over.
And you sound like if you had made it to the championship, it would have been in Little Rock, right?
Oh yes, it would have been in Little Rock, Arkansas at the time, and we know from tensions back in the day and just getting things integrated and getting things going. But it wasn't. I don't remember being not wanting to go because of that. We wanted to go, and I played on a real diverse team. It was just great. I played with mostly our players. The Caucasian players were from St. Anthony's High School, which was a private school, and I still one of the players today is my tax accountant, and what a great guy he is, Jody Camerades. So we're still talking today, and we always reliving this, and reliving baseball and how baseball was back in the day. Because he played football, and I could never play football. I did on the playground touch football because I was a pretty good little quarterback on it. But I think I put the pads on one time when I was real young, one time for the Police Boys Club. But I never followed up on that.
And so these teams in the American Legion, they were made up of different high school teams, right?
Yes, they were high school teams in the area. Of course, we had some great high schools. We had like Spingarn High School. We had, of course, I was Eastern High School. We had Ballou High School, which we had a pro guy come out of there. Don Money went to Ballou High School for a year, and he moved on to be a shortstop for Philadelphia Phillies. And we had Chuck Vincent over at Phelps High School. He ended up playing in the big leagues for the Yankees, but he was signed. Yeah, he signed with the Yankees, but he ended up being with the Angels toward the end. And we had a lot of good players. John Jeter for Phelps. He signed, and I don't know where he is today, but I tried to. It was kind of tough following guys back in the day, although we had the Sporting News, But we had a good program. I mean, all the guys that played in high school, they played ball in the summer, and it was good. I thought it was probably better than the high school league. I thought, I thought it was really good because it was concentrated. Because you can use 2 or 3 schools for your team, so it's like everybody had like a little all-star team, the best of the players from the high school. So I thought we had a good American Legion program. And the name of my team was Agriculture Post 36, and was our sponsor, Agriculture Department.
And you had a pretty good high school team, too. Could you tell me more about that?
Oh, yes. When I first came in my 10th grade year, I was on a team of senior players, and most of those guys played football, basketball, and track, and they kind of took me under my wings, and we didn't win anything that year. But I enjoyed it and went on this junior year. The next year, I think we came up short. We went to the playoffs, but we lost in that. But when the senior year came around, we had a dynamite team. I mean, at all positions. We had a catcher named Mike Taylor, could throw guys out. We had a first baseman, tall first baseman, about 6'5", Sam Dews. Jimmy Butler was one of our top players. He was an outfielder. Sam Jones was our shortstop. Boy, I hate to leave anybody out, but and of course Jody Camerdes was there, and from St. Anthony's, and we supposed to be talking about the high school though, right?
Yeah, but
the high school. Yeah. Jody was at St. We was at St. Anthony's, but
right.
The high school team was a really good team, and that's the ironic thing about that. When we went to the championship, went to the playoffs rather, we had to play Wilson High School. Right today has been one of the best high schools, and their record is just phenomenal. Nobody can beat Wilson High School. From the time I left, I think they've won like 90% of the titles since I left in the 60s. And the thing is that when we've played them, we beat them, and we advanced to play Anacostia High School, which was still on our side, on our division. So we crossed over, but Anacostia won too, and that's where we played. We played them for the championship, and ironically, we played at Georgetown University. And we won that game 9-2, and we won the city championship. And my neighbors woke me up and told me, "Hey, I was in the newspaper on the front page of the sports section."
That's awesome. And you said that when you were in high school, there were a lot of guys who tried out for the baseball team.
We've tried. Our baseball field is on the football field at one end of the stadium, and so wasn't a separate field. So and the dimensions are a little tight on the right field, but it was long in left field, left center, and the track was around there. And when we had those tryouts, it was like the whole field was covered. It was like these guys was out for football. It's like they were all over the place, like 100 yards. I mean, for the football field, they were out there, and he narrowed it down. I didn't think I was going to have a chance to play because there were so many seniors on that team. So I made the team, and it turned out well for me,
Yeah, and you were a pitcher at that point, right?
Oh, yeah. That's really mainly all I did was pitch. But I did play a little bit of second base, and some of my friends told me I played some outfield, but I don't remember playing outfield. But mostly I did pitching because that's what I loved to do back then was pitch and hit. If I can pitch and bat fourth.
And so when you started getting scouted by professional teams, that was probably mostly with American Legion, or?
Well, I don't know who was around for the high school. Every now and then you might see somebody, but I wasn't the type of guy who was looking for them, I never was looking for them. And 10th grade, 11th grade, I definitely had no clue about, scouts. I'm just playing baseball. And then when the senior year come around, because we had to do our yearbook, and I didn't realize in my yearbook that I had put that I wanted to be a professional baseball player.
Wow.
And so I should have said I wanted to be I want to be a better professional baseball player. I want to be a bigger leaguer, which I did. I did meet my goals as being a professional baseball player and got to play professionally for 16 years. But I needed to add a little bit more onto that. So,
not a lot of people can say they played 16 years. So.
It was a grind, but it was a fun grind, and so the American Legion ball was. I think once you started American Legion ball, once you start playing, I think the scouts couldn't talk to you until after the season was over. So I did hear that, and as soon as the season was over, I got some calls from Chicago Cubs, Pittsburgh Pirates, Washington Senators, and the Baltimore Orioles. And I even got a couple of scouts. Well, I'll say a scout from Delaware State that came in and tried to sign me up at Delaware State to go to play college ball. But to be honest with you, I was kind of I didn't have the good tutelage about going to college at the time. I was just so glad to get out of high school, and that which was probably the opposite of what I'm teaching today.
Right.
But today, when we say, even today, some people saying you don't need college, but I don't know about that. But I just know you need to go in the right direction. That's going to be the best for you. You got to get a trade. You're going to have to do something. You're going to have to further your education on something to make it in this world. And so when I got that call from the Baltimore Orioles, well, actually they sent me a letter, and and they asked me if I was interested in playing professional baseball. And since it was in a letter, I couldn't say, what were you talking about? Of course. And I had to respond to it. And the offer was to come work out at Memorial Stadium over in Baltimore. And before one of their games, just have batting practice and take infield with them. And I remember Luis Aparicio, a Hall of Fame shortstop, he was there, and Brooks Robinson, of course, and there were Milt Pappas and Wally Bunker. It was some name guys over there that were just. Baltimore wasn't that great at the time, but they came around because that was 1964 fall. But as you know, 66 they beat the Dodgers in the World Series, so those young guys really came around, and they beat Koufax and Drysdale back then. And so I signed in the fall, and then it was a long wait over the off season. So I went to work, worked at Diener's Carpet Company, laying carpet, and of course I just was looking forward to playing baseball, and so be it. I just couldn't wait, but it finally got here.
And you chose the Orioles over a couple other teams, right?
Yeah, Chicago Cubs. I remember Ralph DeLulo. I still remember his name. I don't know why his name sticks with me. Chicago Cubs, Ralph DeLulo, and of course Pittsburgh Pirates. It was a couple guys, Sid Thrift and Joe Consoli. Those are big names in the Oriole organization later on. Both of those guys ended up working for the Orioles and the A's. Nobody stays in one spot a lot in baseball. Seems you have some lifers here and there. But then also and Pittsburgh was selling me on a black coach that they had named Gene Baker. He was one of the black guys in their farm system as a coach, and they was trying to sell me on him to, come in and he would kind of help take care of me there. But they wasn't offering too much at the time, just opportunity, maybe a few dollars, a glove, some spikes and everything. But the Orioles, they did come around with a few little dollars, and of course, and another thing, I had just got married in June, in July 31st, matter of fact. July 31st, and I played a game on my wedding day. I hate to say that, but so when I did that workout, I think I signed on the spot there because my high school coach really was my agent, Mr. Jankowski. So we ended up getting them to pay me over the fall, like I was working, And I think I needed something to say that I was working for something else. I don't know, but they did that for me, paid me over the fall and with a little smaller, one-time little bonus thing. So, I was happy, but looking back, it wasn't a lot, especially being married with a baby that was to be born in November. My oldest daughter, Deneen, was born in November of '64. This is my oldest child. She's in the military right now to this day, military reserve. She's a sergeant major. And so I really needed that little bit of money. I think the Orioles understood that, whereas the other teams didn't understand the what was needed to, for a player to be able to, play baseball. It was tough enough on the salary, so the little bonus really helped me get a little jump start on it. My family.
And this was the year before the MLB draft started, right?
Oh yeah, the draft didn't come into 1965, and I signed like in the fall of '64 during baseball season, so it must have been like September. I think it was September of '64, and so '65 was that's when they started the real draft. I wonder where I would have went. I always wonder where would I have went had I not signed. Where would I went in that draft,
And I guess one thing that we hadn't talked about before, but it occurred to me was, during this time period the Vietnam War was going on, did the real draft ever come, and how did that work?
I know. I got my draft card. I didn't run away, but as I remember, President Kennedy was in office, and I don't want to get the dates wrong, but anyway, the president, it was a law that came out that if you had a child, that you were exempt from going in the military.
Okay.
So that was my reason how I missed the military, because I had a child, and so I think that's what
that makes
how
sense,
I ducked
yeah.
that. Yeah.
So you signed with the Orioles in '64, and then where were you first sent in your first season?
Well, my first season, I played my first year, and I played two places. My first league was the Midwest League. They sent me to Appleton, Wisconsin, which was known as Fox Cities, which is just north of Green Bay and Chicago there. So, and as you know, it's a little bit chilly in early April. So that was the first place I played for Billy DeMars up there in Fox Cities. And my first game was in Quincy, Illinois, and a doubleheader. And I remember not getting any hits, and I remember making an error, and it was cold. But I just kept right on moving.
And was that a big change? Did you notice like the skill level being much higher in pro ball than it was in American Legion? Or?
There, I know. Definitely so, because every day the competition was always kind of consistent. The competition was more consistent, and I just knew I had to get better. I think at the time I was really fooling around with. I didn't know which way to bat. I think I switch hit a little bit more. I switch hit a little bit there, and I remember having a little problem with movement on fastballs, that running fastballs. I remember that. And because I didn't hit too well, I think I got 9 hits for like 40 ABs in the Midwest League. And they sent me out to Bluefield once Bluefield started in June. And I just heard Cal Ripken got sent to Bluefield too. Cal Ripken Jr. Yeah, I just heard that the other day. He had a little tough time himself, he said, in Bluefield. But I had the tough time in Midwest League, and so that may have been what they had planned to do anyway. I don't know what would happen if I'd have been doing well, because I've done well in other places and got shipped around too. So they sent me to Bluefield, West Virginia later on, and which was rookie league. Midwest League, Fox City was Class A ball. And so I think getting off that little slow start got me sent to Bluefield, West Virginia. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for listening to the first episode of the story of Jimmy Williams. In the future, episodes will cover Jimmy's time playing in Japan and his time as a coach. We know there are so many things out there for you to listen to, and we appreciate you taking the time to hear Jimmy's story. It really is an incredible story.